Hello, my name is Bill Webb, aka Billy Indiana. Today I'm going to do an overview and a review of the board game Traintopia by Board and Dice Games. Let's get it to the table. Right, I've got Traintopia set up as a two-player game here, and I'm not going to do a full playthrough, but I do want to just talk to you about the components, how they fit together into this gameplay, maybe get the game started a little bit so you get a feel for it, and then give you a review at the end. So there's in the setup a few different things. There's two players, so this is the starting tile, so I'll go ahead and flip that over for one player, and then there is a goal card or an objective card here for this player, and you keep track of that card, but you don't share it with the other players. So this one says 3 closed tracks, and so that player will be working to try to get 3 closed tracks in the flow of the game, and they would get 8 victory points at the end if they're able to. Their opponent doesn't necessarily know that. So over here, the other player, they get their starting tile, they have their objective, and so this player's objective, they need to get 8 of these specific types of districts on their track. Then they would earn 5 victory points if they're able to accomplish that. All right, and then both players have a player card that has the turn steps, and then also final scoring information on the back. Show you a close-up of that. And I'll show you this particular one. So for this player, you can see that it gives the turn steps on your turn, what you do, and then how you can spend money. And then this player has a conductor, or this card has a conductor on it, so this will be the first play. And then on the back of all the cards is the same. There's only one, obviously, with the conductor to identify the first player. But on the back, there's the final scoring, and it tells you how you're going to score with different numbers of tracks per train, and whether the beginning and ending stations are the same or different. And then also, what if you have trains on your track and then the person with the longest track. So we can talk about those later when we get to finals. All right, for now, let me tell you about the rest of the components here. So we have these little white meeples, which are tourists, and they're going to be looking to see the different sites that you have along the track that you build. And then we've got these mail bags. If I call them money bags throughout, just ignore that. They're called mail bags, but I often, for some reason, refer to them as money bags. And then we have these trains. The tourists, when you put them on your tracks, they score immediately based on how many special features you have alongside of the track that they're traveling on, the different specific areas or activities or event things that they can see from the track. The money bags, or sorry, mail bags, do get scored at the end of the game, and they double the value of the track if you have a mail bag on that track. And then the trains are used in scoring at the end, but there's a couple other things you need to understand first before that makes sense. So I'll wait on that. These are the regular train tokens or train cards, the tiles that we'll be playing. We each start with a starting tile, and then these are the ones that we'll be drawing and playing throughout the game, drafting and playing throughout the game. There's another set of 10 bonus tiles up here that you can buy and place on your turn throughout the game. Up here we have the money tokens, and so on some of the tiles when we play them, they actually have this little money symbol, and you can put those on the token or on the tile when you play it, and then you can take these tokens and use them to buy things. At the end of the game, if they're still along your track, that's how you know how your trains will score. So again, we could talk about that. Then these are the victory point little chips tokens that you use when you score for the visitors, or the tourists. You take those immediately, and we're going to see in this bag there's some commuters. When you score commuters, they also score immediately. The mail bags and the trains just score at the end, and you just take these tiles, these tokens, to keep track of your score. The other things in the game, we have these round cards, and every round card looks a little bit like this one, but this is the end round card. It's a special one, and we know it's an end round card based on its design, but they all have kind of the same format. Since it's the end round, there's no numbers down here for 2, 3, and 4 player games, but it does show us that in the end round scoring, we're going to have a special commuter/tourist. You can treat him as any of the 4 types. And then there is a mailbag, and there is a train, and then there is another closing chip that you can close off track with. So that will be the ending round card. So that just stays here off to the side as we go through the game. In the other rounds, we flip one over, and depending on whoever the first player is, they will begin the round, and usually we just have the first player fill this out. So on this one, you can see in this, I can actually just so on this round, you can see we're going to have 3 different tourists randomly drawn from the bag. We're going to have, commuters. We're going to have 1 tourist. And then for a 2-player game, you're going to pull out 5 tiles. For a 3-player game, 3 tiles. And for a 4-player game, 5 tiles. This always tells you how many tiles to put. So for this round, I'm the first player here since I have the conductor on my card. And I'm going to go ahead and put these cards off to the side now. They're just telling us the turn order, and then we just put the bag by the first player. So the first player would reach in and randomly choose commuter, yellow, gray, or the screen. It is there are 5 of each of these in the bag, so it kind of interestingly turned out that I got 1 of each this time. And then I need to take a white tourist, put on there as well. So this is what we'll be playing during this round. So those are all the components. The basic idea in a round or in a turn, like I said, is summarized on these cards. But it tells us basically first we have to draft a map tile from the offer, or we can choose one of the meeples or wooden elements that are on the round card. And then you can also spend money at any point during your turn if you have money on the tiles. So those are kind of the things you'll do. And to begin the game, at the very beginning, depending on the number of players, you put out an offer of tiles to get the game started. And since I'm showing a 2-player game, the offer has double that. So you would pull out 4 tiles. And I've just put them in 2 stacks since there's quite a few here. You could do it all in 1 stack or however you'd like. So that's the first offer to help us get the game started. I'm going to slide my objective here, slide this player's objective over. Like I said, I'm going to pull these explanation cards, these player aid cards off the side. And then here again is the starting tile. And for this first round, when you're setting it up, the first player has the meeples bag and is going to be the first one to play in the normal round. But for just setup, whoever is not the first player actually gets the first choice here. And so let's say that this player would choose this one. Now, let me show you a close-up, a couple features of these tiles so you understand how they place and what is on them. So I'll put a couple over here from this first offer to show you a few. So on these 3 tiles, you can see some stations. So we've got a blue station here and a red station here, and the tracks end and begin in different stations. You can also see different districts. So there's this district that represents scoring by the gray meeples. And then there's also a landmark. So we've got some sort of a carnival or festival there that's a landmark. And we've got a stadium, another landmark. Here's another gray district. Here's a yellow district. And then I can show you one here, a 4th one. This one actually has a green district. And some of these tiles also have wild districts. So I can show you another one here from the bonus. You can see this district has the gray and the green and the yellow. And this is one of the 10 bonus tiles. So those are the different features you're going to see. I didn't pick one there that actually has money on it. So let me see if I can find one real quick. So in this one, you can also see there is the money symbol. So that is when you would take one of the money tokens when you place that tile, and then you would put the token on the symbol on your tile. Those are the main features of the tiles. Let me put these back here, and we'll go back to the main table. So these again are the 4 in our beginning game setup. And so since this is not the first player, we'll have them pick first. They probably don't want to use one of these ends right away because that's going to make their track finish right away. So they would probably choose this one and put it that way. Now, just so you know, there's one thing that's unusual in this kind of a tile placing game. The sides don't have to line up exactly. The tracks do. And you can't ever loop a track to where it becomes an infinite loop. So there's basically two rules for placing your tiles. The tracks that are there do have to line up, and you can't loop a track. But I could put it this way. Okay, so that's an unusual thing about this game. You don't have to have the tiles exactly lined up. You just have to have the tracks lined up. But for this play, I would probably, if I were this player, just put it that way. Right, and then for mine, I'm going to take this tile and I'm going to put it this way. It's got a turn, and so I'm going to be turning my track back that way. I just have to make sure it doesn't eventually loop. All right, and then the other player is going to go. Now, again, they probably don't want to finish the track like this yet, because that track is going to be so short, it's not going to score very many points. So they can just place it here and just start another track side by side. They could place it this way. As long as the tracks are not running into green space. Tracks can only run into tracks. So they could place it either way. And so we'll have them do that. And then for my turn, I'm going to just start a second track over here. And now our setup is done. Now I'm the first player. So I'll just go through one quick round to give you an idea about that. So as the first player, I have some options. I can draw a tile, or I can draw one of these wooden figures. In this case, they happen to all four be meeples. Now when I draw the meeples, they score immediately. The gray one scores for every gray district that's in the train track that you put him on. The green meeple scores for every green district on the track that you put him on. The yellow scores for every yellow district on the track you put him on. And then the white tourist scores for all the different features, all the different locations and special attractions like the stadiums and the carnivals. And each one of those stadiums and carnivals has a little number beside it to tell you how much they. And so I don't really want to put them on my track yet because my tracks are so short, there aren't very many districts, there aren't very many features or attractions to draw their attention. And so I'm going to just use tracks, drawing the tracks. Now, to start the round, as we get the round ready, we go by this round marker as to how many tiles we set out. On this round card, it says we, for 2 players, put 5 out into the office. 5 tiles. A little crowded because I'm trying to show 2 players on a pretty playing area. We'll just try to get so there's our offer. Here's my track. Here's the opponent's track. And since I'm the first player, which we just use this to indicate that whoever has that is the first player, that I get to go. So I'm going to look at these tracks, and I could pick all different kinds. I'm going to choose this one and run that track. And then the second player, they will choose this one, and she'll put it this way. But you probably can't see it on the overview, but on the close-up, you'll see this one does have a money symbol. So when she places that one in play, she'll also take a money token, put it onto the table. All right, and then it's my turn again. And I want to make sure that these tracks don't run into each other. So I'm going to turn this one out to this. Then the other player gets to go. So let's see. They're going to take this one, not necessarily being super strategic, but just putting this tile here. Oh, by the way, when I place this one, I almost forgot. There is another money symbol, so I have to put the money token here. And then the second player, they also have a money token on the tile they're placing, so they can put. And now it's back to my turn. And we keep going through this round until all the tiles in the offer are gone, and all of the meeples are gone except for one thing. It could be one meeple, it could be one tile, but until there's just one thing left, the round continues. So at any time, I could be taking a meeple instead of a tile, but I'm trying to build up my track at least enough to score some points when we put those meeples on. So it's back to my turn again. And as I'm looking here, I have this money symbol, and I can use the money to buy one of these tiles. I can also use the money to look at one of these objective cards. These are extra objective cards, and I can look, or sorry, not those, the extra objective cards. Oh, I didn't, sorry, need to have those out as well. So those are the round cards, as I mentioned before. The extra objective cards we'll put over here. Sorry about that. And so I could also pay a coin to look at an extra objective card, compare it to the one that I have, and then keep one. I'm not going to do that yet. I'm happy with the objective card I have. But I am going to pay some money to buy a tile. I'm going to buy this one, and I'll show you a close-up. This one has several attractions, 2 stadiums and 2 carnivals. So that tile itself has 6 points, 1 for each stadium and 2 for each carnival. That's going to potentially score me quite a few points. And so I am going to put that one, let's see, I'm going to put it here, because then it can be seen by several different tracks. But that does mean I spent my coin. And that's not really my turn, that's just spending the coin. I still have to take my turn. But part of the reason I did that is so that I could have a better chance of having more features for a tourist, for instance. So I'll go ahead and take this tile, and I'm going to put this here. But there is money on it, so put the money token there. And then the other player has no more tiles to choose from, so they must choose one of those meeples. Now, if they look at their track, they've got a gray district and another gray district, so 2 of those. They have 1 yellow district and 2 green districts on this track. This district only is a start, this track only has 1 started, so I got 1 gray. This curve only has 1 gray, so those aren't going to score very much. But this track, if she takes the gray meeple, she would score 2 points. If she takes the yellow meeple, 1 point. If she takes the green meeple, 2 points, because there's 1 yellow district, 2 gray districts, and 2 green. Now, she does have some features here, so she could also take the tourist, which is worth points for features. And there's a 2-point feature here, an attraction, a carnival, and a 1 point here along this track that the tourist could see from the train as they're traveling along the track. So she has to decide, does she want the 3 points for the tourist, or does she want to get the 2 points for the gray meeple, or the 2 points for the green meeple, or 1 for the yellow? Obviously, she's not going to choose. And if she takes the white tourist meeple and puts it on there, it only gets her 3 points, but that also keeps me from scoring a lot of points this round. So they'll get their 3 victory points for playing the tourist who sees those attractions along the train track. And now it's my turn. Now I only have the yellow and the gray and the green to choose from. If I look at this blue track, I've got 3 grays and a green. And if I look at this red track here, I've got 2 greens. And if I look at this track, I've got 1, 2, 3 greens, a yellow, and a gray. And I can't do a tourist, even though I have all these nice attractions for them to see. I can't do that because there is no tourist. So in this case, if I do choose the gray tourist, for example, I can put him on that track, and I would also score 3 points. And now it's the other person's. So I get my token for my keeping track of my victory point. And now the second player goes last on this round, and the yellow is only going to score them 1 point. The green will score them 2. Take the green for 2 points. Take 2 of these tokens to track their points. And now the round is over. There's only 1 piece left. All the tiles are gone, and only 1 of the wooden objects is left. So that is the end of the round. We take this card and we take this meeple and we put it back in the box. It is out of the game. And then we always did, at this point, pass the bag to the other person. Now we know this person is going to be the first player of the next. And then we flip over card, and then we fill up from the stock the different components. And you can see there's one that says a colored meeple. So randomly pick one out of the bag. And that is those are the wooden tokens that will be available during this round of the game. And we can see at the bottom it says for 2 players you need 6 tiles. So 3, 6. And now we're ready for the next round. I'm not going to play through another round. I won't do a whole playthrough, but that's basically the flow of the game and how all the different components fit together and how they work. You've seen how we score the green, yellow, and gray commuters. You've seen how we score the tourists. Now we don't score the tracks until the end of the game, and you score completed tracks at the end of the game. For a completed track, if it has a money bag on it, you double however many points it's worth. So let me show you the scoring for that. I'll do a close-up of the card that gives this. So in the scoring, if you look at a bit more, the top part here, for finished lines, you can see the points are doubled if you have a mailbag. And you can see across the top of the table there, it says 2 to 3 tiles, 4 to 5 tiles, 6 to 7, and 8 plus. And then on the left side of the grid, it shows the 2 blue stations versus a blue and a red. If your stations are the same color, both blue or both red, then you go across the first row of this column to see how many victory points you have based on how many tiles it is consisting of. If your 2 stations are different, one blue and one red, then you scroll across the bottom row of this table and you score victory points again according to that row. Let's say that your train had 6 tiles. It had a red and a blue ending, one red, one blue. So we would look for 6 tiles with one of each station at either end, you would score 7 victory points. Now, if there happens to be a mailbag on that train track, they would score 14 instead of 7. Other in-game scoring has to do with the trains. You saw the little money tokens that I was putting on the tiles that had the money emblems. If you have a train on your track, and along that track you have those money emblems, you score victory points. So if you have 4 money emblems, for example, along the train track that has your train on it, you gain 10 victory points. If you only have 2 or 3 money symbols along that track that has a train on it, you would get 4. If you have only 1 or no money symbols, the train is of no value at the end. Now you can also, at any point in the game, choose one of the wooden tokens and just discard it basically for a victory point. So that's if you feel like the trains or some other wooden meeples aren't going to really favor you, you could just discard it for a victory point at any time. And then the last is for whoever has the longest track. And for the longest track, it does not need to be complete. For the train scores and for the finished tracks here, the track needs to be complete. But for the longest track, it does not have to be complete. It's just whoever has the longest track, whoever has the most tiles making up their longest track would win the points. And in a 2-player game, only one person scores. But in a more than 2-player game, then multiple people can score for first, second, third place. So that is in-game scoring, and you just collect these point tokens for everything that you've scored at the end. And you would have been collecting those point tokens throughout the game as you place commuters and as you place tourists on the track. And then at the very end, you score up the completed tracks, factor in the trains, and factor in them. So that is Traintopia. Hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully that gives you an idea about whether it would be a game that might interest you. I feel like it's kind of a mix between a Carcassonne sort of a game and a Ticket to Ride. You've got goals here you're trying to accomplish, like the Ticket to Ride, plus the train theme, and then you're putting out tiles. Now, they don't have to match exactly like the tiles in Carcassonne do, but there is some restriction into how you match them like in Carcassonne. So kind of a mix of those two games with a few extra features. And then also, like Carcassonne, placing different meeples and figures on your board. Another thing that's different from Carcassonne, though, is that this one, each person is playing on their own track. You're not building one big track together. So that's an overview of the game. Now, what do I think about it? Well, this game is one that was enjoyable for us. We had a good time with it. It's a little simple and a little dry for our tastes. I think some people would really love it, but for my wife and I, we enjoyed it. We'll probably play it a couple more times, but I don't know if it would be one that'll get to the table a lot. I don't have a huge number of games, but I do have quite a few. You can see some of them over my shoulder here. And a lot of our other games are more appealing to us, so we would probably play others before we would play. So if I were rating this one, I would say probably a 6 out of 10. It's easy to learn. It would be easy to teach. So one value is if you're teaching new gamers how to play a game. This has not such a complex gameplay that it would be too intimidating for them, but a few different kinds of strategies for them to think about that they may not have tried in other simpler games. It is pretty. It's a cute game with the little pieces, and it was really easy to learn. So we did enjoy it, but not in the top 10 by any means. Like I said, about a 6 out of 10. But it was definitely an enjoyable game. So I hope that overview and review is helpful for you. If you liked the video, please click like and subscribe below. If you want to see future videos, you may want to click on that bell and you'll get notifications of those future videos. If you have comments or questions about the game, maybe something that I missed, a mistake that I made, Or if you like something about this game, or if this something about the review appealed to you, please leave a comment below. As always, thanks for watching. This is Billy, Indiana, signing off.